The African Union's inaugural conference on digital agriculture has wrapped up in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The conference was looking at ways to harness advanced technologies to spur agricultural transformation and build resilient and sustainable food systems across the continent. Addressing the conference, the Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Development, Moses Vilakati, reaffirmed his commitment to digital transformation as a cornerstone for agricultural modernization, food security and sustainable growth. He joins us now on the line. A very good afternoon to you. So good to have you with us on Africa in Business.
Good afternoon, my sister. How are you?
I'm awesome, thank you. And I'm sure you are more awesome, having come out of that digital agriculture conference of the AU. But perhaps from the deliberations at the conference, why is digital transformation considered essential for Africa's agricultural and food system?
And thank you very much, my sister and listeners, as well as viewers. Digital transformation enables data-driven farming. It also improves productivity, as well as strengthen climate resilience. Farmers will now gain access to real-time information on markets, on financing, on prices, as well as the weather forecast. And you can only do that through digital transformation, because they are able, therefore, to tap into digital apps for the benefit of that particular information. Imagine if there was no digital transformation. Farmers would not know whether to plow or plant that particular year. But now, through that weather forecasting, they're able to say, I will be able to go to the field, and therefore I want to produce.
It's quite clear that there are a number of digital tools that are being developed in order to mainstream and streamline the entire agricultural process. But it's one thing having the digital tools available. What about the policy reforms that are needed in order to be able to unlock a wider adaptation of these tools in agriculture on the continent?
Yeah, the policy reforms are very key to unlocking adaptation of digital tools. In the first instance, you want accessibility, which therefore requires broadband, and it must be reliable as well as affordability. So you need to have reforms in that regards. The issue of affordability to reduce the costs, it's very, very important, because it's one thing to say we have the Internet of Things, but the costs are exorbitant because farmers will not be able to access that. There is also the issue of data governance, frameworks, particularly for privacy, as well as the interoperability, how you operate it. You know, data can easily be changed if not secured. So the security of the data, the reliability of the data is very, very, very key. And nowadays we also have cyber security issues. So those are part of the reforms that we need to inculcate as we develop our digital transformation.
As far as expanding Africa's rural connectivity, were there any suggestions that were put on the table on how this can happen in order to ensure that farmers can actually use various digital tools?
The issue of, indeed, there was a declaration. The declaration is saying, let us ensure that farmers are accessing these apps, these tools. But that requires the private sector, because we are saying to governments, come up with the reforms so that there's a good playing ground. And as you are aware, once you've got a very good playing ground, the private sector then comes in there because they are there to make money. And if you look at the digital transformation that has occurred over the past few years, we've seen in those countries that have adopted it that the productivity has really increased and the livelihoods of the people has also improved. So if we look into the governance issue, we are able to say what policies that are needed and what strategies are therefore needed to make sure that the farmers are enabled. Now, once that playground has been leveled, then the private sector comes in, because this is private sector driven. And fortunately, we had the private sector were here because the delegation or the delegates were coming from all over Africa, and with financiers as well as private sector players who were saying, look, we want to be part and parcel of this so that the farmers can concentrate on production. So that is where we believe the financial aspects will then come in to make sure that the broadband is improved in our various African countries. Mind you, my sister, if that one were to be improved, Africa would then have a strong market for its products.
We've spoken about access and reform of policies in order to enable that access. But I'm also quite interested in finding out what emerging technologies are seen perhaps as the most promising to be able to drive African agricultural transformation during this time. Are you with us, Mr. Vilakati? All right. Seems like we've lost that connection with Mr. Vilakati. We'll try and get him back on a better line. It has gone exactly 4:48 Central African time as we continue to deliberate on the African Union's inaugural conference on digital agriculture. And as you can hear, Mr. Vilakati highlighting the need for broadband affordability, the need for accessibility, and the declaration that has been signed in order for policies to actually be amended and changed in order to allow that. He says that this will indeed be a game changer. When we do get him back on the line, I'm really interested in seeing, I believe he is back with us, Mr. Vilakati. I was just, talking to our listeners now and saying I'm really looking forward to seeing which emerging technologies you would highlight as perhaps being the most promising and most beneficial for African agriculture during this time.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry about that glitch. The first one is really the international of things, the Internet of Things. Because if we have got the Internet of Things, you are able to access a large number of people. So for me, that is the first one. In particular, we are looking at issues like soil mapping and monitoring, as well as crop monitoring. That one helps us in that regards. The emerging one is the AI-powered advisory platforms, because they are becoming very, very important. It's a new technology, but it is already shaping Africa. And I think it will be the best technology that we'll be looking into in future. And we think that that is also going to help farmers move forward. We also have the mobile-based platforms, particularly for financial inclusions and market access. Because as we are aware, when we look at market access, only 15% of the products from Africa are actually marketed within Africa. In fact, we do more business than Europe. 80 to 85% of our business is with Europe. And what is the real issue? The real issue is that we cannot interconnect with the markets. So if we have the mobile-based platforms for
How unfortunate, Mr. Vilakati. Well, unfortunately, I have to leave it at that, but I think he did really get to the crux of some of the emerging technologies and focusing there towards the end, towards an AI advisory platform. And my next question to him was really about the reliability of these AI platforms, because we do know that there's still a lot of training that needs to take place in order to verify the information that is collated via artificial intelligence. But that perhaps is a conversation for another day. It does, however, wrap up the African Union's inaugural conference on digital agriculture. That certainly is not only the way of the present, but it is the way of the future as well. and with these various policies being adapted as well as amended in order to increase accessibility for African agriculture. And then also there's him speaking about the fact that 80 to 85% of our business is actually done with Europe. Once again, focusing on the need to have intracontinental trade, removing those barriers that allows Africa to do business with itself.